So, welcome to our Get to Know series. This is a teacher focused session, and it is over Aware, Strive, and Beacon. And this is our fourth part. So, thank you all for joining us. Today's team, actually, our agenda is going to be we're going to talk a little bit about Aware and student monitoring. We'll also talk about Strive, the professional learning aspect of Strive for teachers, and then Beacon and the lesson planning aspect for teachers as well. Today's team, we have Dr. Allison Ross representing Strive and Beacon, Jason Martinez also here to represent Aware, and then my name is Armando Sierra here as support. And if you all have questions, we can go ahead and answer those questions as well. If you do have questions, please use the Q&A window at the very bottom of your screen. There will be an option for you all to use Q&A. This will allow us to view these questions live, answer them live, or we'll respond accordingly with a message if we cannot get to it live during the actual session. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jason Martinez to get us started. Jason, take it away.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Let's talk about a few things today in Awares focused on teachers. We have done in the previous three Get to Know series, talked kind of in and out on some different premium features like single test analysis, master tracker, retest, and reflection. The last of the premium features that the district has access to is multi-test. And so it'd be my expectation that very, very few teachers within the state, depending on the size of the district, would be building multi-test analysis, what we call progress profiles. But teachers do have the ability to view a progress profile if someone that has access to create those progress profiles shares the progress profile. And so with premium, if a teacher clicks on multi-test, any progress profile that has been created and then shared will appear here. However, when a teacher clicks on the progress profile, what they see could be limited because of the access that they have. Let me explain. So similar to how quick views are built, and they might be built at the district level from someone that has the district-wide access to see all campuses, all teachers, all students, the person that's building the progress profile in Aware also most likely has that same level of access to where they can see everything. Well, when quick views get shared out, and the teachers can then use those quick views, when they click on a quick view, it may contain the same kinds of data, designed the same way, but obviously the teacher only sees the individual student data for the students that they have in their classes and their rosters. That acts the same way here. So if I were to go to the student list, and I'll come back and talk a little bit about just multi-test in general, but when I come to the student list, the students that are going to appear here that are going to be visible to the teacher would only be students that are on that teacher's current roster. So there will be several times, especially if the district is creating many multi-test analysis progress profiles and sharing them out to the districts, because when you share a progress profile, it's shared to everyone. But there's going to be many instances where the teacher might only be able to see this overall type summary level data, but can't see anything when they go to the student list. This would be blank. And so if you're a teacher and you're clicking on multi-test and you click on student list and this is blank, it's because this multi-test analysis progress profile is including students that you don't have on your roster. Now, part of what we're going to talk about today is student monitoring and maybe talking about students that are not on our roster. But for this topic itself, definitely going to be only students that you have on your roster that are visible here. So there's a whole lot about multi-test analysis that the district is going to be using and that might be, some of that might be very district specific, like we're looking at how our STAR test compares to the MAP, compares to the interim, compares to our benchmarks, compared to whatever. And is there consistency and even correlation between those results? I'm going to leave that kind of topic up to the district personnel to kind of send that out and kind of define what multi-test analysis is meaning to each district. What I want to focus on here from the teacher, obviously, is teachers are usually concerned about not necessarily overall data as much as I'm concerned about the students that are in my class. And so these bar heights, I know this kind of wording is kind of weird. I do this intentionally because when multi-test analysis progress profiles are being created, the person that's creating that progress profile is creating a range of scoring that is going to be equal to some level of achievement. We call it an achievement level. I'm calling this a bar height because I relate it to like high jump or pole vault, getting over a certain level of achievement. Well, what's happening is even though these tests, like a STAR has scale score, MAP might have RIT score, interims might have projected proficiency, and then we use percent score ranges on our local tests. So even though there's different metrics of scoring that all of these tests have, and it makes it hard for us to say, hey, what does 212 to 244 on a RIT score, how does that compare to what percentage range on our benchmark? Is that equal to 62% to 78%? Like, how does that match up? Can we match that up, even though these names are very different and these numbers are very different? So, what has gone on in the background of whoever's building this progress profile has gone in and made those decisions and created that alignment so that theoretically, even though these tests are very different in the metrics of scoring they use, there should be consistency in how the students score because we've gone in statistically kind of and made those ranges equal to each other. So what we're kind of looking at by student here is how consistent is each student falling within these different kinds of tests? Where are they falling? And we would expect, for the most part, there's going to be quite a bit of consistency. So, like you see here for Angelique, level one, level one, level one. Okay, level two, level two. Okay, maybe there's some growth happening later on in the year. That'd be great. We'd love that. But something that would be way more inconsistent. So, like we're going from 2 to 4 to 1 to 4, what's happening with this student? Why is this student so inconsistent with their scoring because of these different tests? Because yes, they have different scores, but we've equated them. And so we would think Eduardo would normally be at a consistent level of achievement regardless of the test. So was Eduardo sick here? Did something happen at home when he got bar level 1 or whatever? We want to investigate that. But essentially, what is multi-test analysis going to do for me as a teacher is it's probably going to validate a lot of my assumptions that I've already got about my students, right? I know my students. I know where they're going to achieve. I know the students that are high level and they're going to achieve high level most of the time. I know the students that are low level, sure, but this is going to allow me to quickly see where that variation comes to give me that highlighter to go investigate, where are those students coming in differently. All right, so that is kind of the generic, real simple form of multi-test analysis from a teacher standpoint. Once again, when you go to multi-test, if you're brand new to Aware, brand new to Premium, teachers do not have a button up here to create a progress profile. Matter of fact, no one has a button to create a progress profile unless that access is given. But once again, if others create that progress profile, district level staff or whatever, when they share that progress profile, it'll become visible to all of the teachers. And obviously they will look at the grade levels and subjects of their own students to see their students. All right, I want to hop into single test. I know we've already talked about that, but I want to hop into single test for one reason. And I know this is only, let me take a test that's got some more students. How unlucky can I get? Wow. All right, here we go. So I want to come in here because I want to talk about student monitoring, right? That's the topic of the day concerning Aware. And when you talk about student monitoring for Aware, there's kind of 3 different main topics that we talk about: monitor groups, student access list, and then student forms. And so monitor groups are essentially acting like a custom built demographic in Aware. And so when I say demographic, I'm talking about African American, Hispanic, EcoDis, at risk, GT. Those subgroups like that, they're being built, managed, created, updated, all in the student management system. And Aware is talking to that student management system on a daily basis to keep those demographic groups updated. And we know that we can analyze data by those groups. Matter of fact, within a single test, right? I can come up here and I could select a particular demographic group to filter this data by. Well, a monitor group is just me creating a group that I want to monitor over time. I want to use that data in analysis, just like we use ethnicity or whatever. Well, in single test analysis, let's say I clicked on all of the students that did not meet performance level, and I wanted to put those students into a monitor group to say, you know what, this is going to be my tutoring group, tutoring group 1 or whatever it is. You see, when I go to build that monitor group, I'm giving it a name. It's including these 11 students that were in this data for me. And you see that it's going to be a personal level monitor group. Teachers have the ability to build monitor groups, but only at the personal level. Campus level access people can do personal or campus, and then district level access people can do district, campus, or personal. But we're logged in as a teacher. We're focusing on teachers. And so teachers have the ability to build a personal monitor group. So I'm going to call this monitor group tutoring group 1. And you see when I create that, it's going to give me a message that my group has been created. So what does that mean? Like, what does that do for me? Well, you see down here where it says monitor groups, right? So yes, I can create a monitor group from data from single test analysis. You may not know it at all, but you can actually create a monitor group. Let me go to a different test that I know has students. You may not know, but you can also create a monitor group on the student level of quick views. Add to a student access list right here. So that acts as that. Down here at monitor groups is where you manage all of those monitor groups. So I might create it from multiple different places. You see, I can even create them right here from scratch. So I could just create this, select students, type in their ID number. I can upload a file. So you can create monitor groups from data. You can create monitor groups from scratch. And we just got that question in from the Q&A. How do you delete a monitor group? This is also where you would do that. And so if I select on a monitor group, then I see I have a delete button up here. And so this is the location of where those monitor groups are housed. Well, you'll notice that yes, 2 of these monitor groups are personal, but although I'm a teacher, I have access to a district-wide monitor group. Well, this district-wide monitor group has 1,336 students. I obviously do not teach all of those, but when I click on that group, I can see the 72 students that are on my roster out of those 1,300. So like I said, teachers can only create personal monitor groups, but they have the ability to see and use students that are in either district and or school created monitor groups. And so important to note that. So even though I didn't create this one, I have the ability to see which of my students are part of that high focus group. So this is an identification and management type place of monitor groups for Aware. Also in quick views, just like you can filter and isolate and summarize by like demographics, this is where if I go to edit my data view, there is a field of each monitor group too. So if I went to this monitor group, and I know we have a bunch of them here, but here's that tutoring group 1. And so that group I just built, just like I can drag ethnicity over here or ecodis or whatever, I could drag the tutoring group over here. You know what? I only want to see data on that group. I'm going to add a filter equals yes or no, right? Which students are in that group or not. And so when you create that monitor group, but yes, it's a way to identify them, but it's also a way to analyze data on those students on any test, on multiple tests that they've taken over time. So monitor groups will be managed here. We recommend highly that you keep your monitor groups clean. Once you create a monitor group, once you use the monitor group, if you're done with it would be good to go ahead and go in there and delete those. And then if you're a district and campus level staff, especially for you, because as you can see, even though you might be creating the monitor group, that monitor group, if it's at the district level, truly could be impacting everybody that has any one student in that group. So if that group is a 2025 group and maybe that was a 24-25 kind of monitor group and it's out of date, we definitely would want to go into the monitor groups as a data administrator and keep that long list of groups clean. That way we're only using those groups that are still active and pertinent to our staff. All right, so that's monitor groups. Similar to monitor groups for teachers, but with one additional kind of usage would be student access list. So a student access list has really two to 2.5 main purposes. First, for anyone, a student access list is kind of creating a quasi class. And so let me explain. When teachers go to analyze data and they go to quick views, the default way to analyze data is under all my students. So it's looking at all of the students that I teach in whatever section or whatever class I teach them in. It's combining them all into one set of all my students. But I can see and go analyze data on any of my individual class periods. I'll pick that class period, then now it's only showing me tests that those students have taken. If I were to click those tests, it's going to include only data of the students that are in this class. Well, if I go create a student access list, and go through and pick the school that it's going to be at, well, one of the reasons for me to do this would be of the students I already have. So similar to a monitor group, but this would be really more not to look at it as a group, but to look at it as a class. And so if I create a student access list, if I come in, oh, this is the wrong person. If I go in and add like my class, this is the wrong one, but if I go in and add my class, it's going to auto approve that. Let me look up who my teacher was. Hold on a second. Sorry, should have done this ahead of time. Can't remember the name of the person I used. Elementary teacher. Anyway, what that's going to do, sorry, what that's going to do is when I create a student access list and that access list gets approved, it's going to appear underneath my classes as another class. It's going to be a student access list, but it's going to act like a class so that I could just analyze data by that class. So one kind of feature of using a student access list is to create a quasi class that I can analyze data on. I could build a mastery tracker on. You can do all of that with student access lists. The main kind of reason that student access lists exist is for me to actually gain access to students that I don't already have access to. That's kind of the real reason for a student access list. So if I do tutoring after school, right? So I'm a math teacher at my campus. Let's say I teach ninth grade math, algebra 1 or whatever. And let's say I host tutoring after school, and students that come to that tutoring are not on my roster. I don't teach them. So therefore, I can't go see their data anywhere because they're not on my roster. If I create a student access list and go add those students to the list and submit that list to be approved, and somebody at my campus approves it, now I will have additional access to students that were not on my roster. So student access list kind of has two purposes: gain access to students that are not already on your roster, or secondarily create of the students I already have, kind of recreate them into a special class, a special group of students that I can analyze data on in quick views. So there are some bleed over between student access lists and monitor groups from an analysis standpoint, but teachers have multiple ways to kind of group their students for certain reasons.
Hey, Jason, a
Sure.
question came in about what is the fastest way to group the students on their star scores with certain score cutoffs, if this is possible?
Yeah, so on any test, right? So it doesn't matter. So I'm assuming you're mentioning when you're saying scores, that could be percent score, scale score, whatever. So like if I wanted to say, show me only students that scored between 50 and 65, right? And I want to add those students to a group, a student access list. Well, if I click edit, when I go to the columns tab, I can click on percent score and add a filter there. So I'm going to add 2 because I'm going to do a range, right? So I said I was going to do between 50 and 65. So I'm going to do greater than 49% and less than 65 or 66. And so if I did that and then update, you'll notice that all of my students now that are included are only students that had a score range or whatever. So you don't have to do a range, right? I could just do less than 70 or between 71 and 80. But that would be the way you come in and you edit your data view. You use whatever score you want to, whether it be scale score or raw score or whatever. You create a filter there, and then now, okay, these students I want to group them because of their score, and so I would add them to a student access list right here to do that. Great example of what we would do that with. Awesome. All right, last thing would be student forums. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because this really is a district decision on whether or not your district uses student forums, but it's always good as a teacher to kind of understand this possibility. If if that exists for us, what am I going to do as a teacher? And so on each student's profile, there's going to be a forums tab. If, and that is an if your district chooses to use forms for your students, when the district person or whoever it is, the special ed person, whoever it is that adds that form to the student, they probably will be clicking a button that's going to automatically email each teacher to notify them that this student now has a form. If that teacher gets that notification or goes in and looks at the form, every time the teacher even looks at the form, it's going to document that it's been seen. Well, it also might be the teacher might be actually going in and teacher providing what interventions am I doing? So the teacher might actually be contributing to the form. And so they would be going in and answering these questions, typing out whatever, checking the check boxes, and then filling out this information. And so when I talk about forms, I'm essentially saying things that are normally in the cumulative folder, permanent folder back in the day, to where we've got special ed forms, 504 forms, LPAC forms, all these different things that can be and historically have been on paper. If your district is choosing to use them in Aware, they're going to be tied to the student. They're going to be access kind of locked away, but the teacher should have access to at least see them. And then if the teacher is going to be part of the contributor to the form, they'll actually be able to edit the form and go give answers as well. And so student forums, if you wonder what that tab is on the student profile, that's what it's for us to have those forms that are typically paper, housed there. They stay with the student forever. They get tied to them by the school year. We don't have to go find them somewhere else. They're always there for anybody that has access to the student to access. All right. Once again, if you're not using forms and you're not in charge of that, that's not your kind of decision to make. If you know someone at your district that may not even know that exists, please have them reach out to us, and we would love to speak to them and encourage them on what to do here. All right. Any additional questions on any of the topics on Aware before I turn it over?
No other questions, Jason.
All right, Allison, it's yours.
Thank you. All right, y'all. So I am going to be covering some good information on Strive Professional Learning. And then we're also talking about Beacon's connection to Aware. So here at Eduphoria, our products are truly better together. And so we have been working to build better together features. So today I get to show y'all some of those. But first, let's chat about professional learning. So let me get my slideshow up and going. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. There we go. And let me catch up. All right, so let's talk about professional learning. So first, with professional learning, you as a teacher would be able to be enrolled in certain courses in different ways. And I just want to kind of briefly touch on those. So number one, looking in the good old course catalog. So, as you are searching for professional learning that maybe aligns to a growth goal that you have for yourself or a need you have established with your appraiser, you can go to the course catalog and look up things from keyword, t-test dimension, category, credit type, date, and course type. Sometimes you may receive an email from an instructor with just a link to sign up. And so just know that you can sometimes just, if you have like a group of people doing things, you would be able to get that link and then jump in and click that link and get registered for some professional learning. And then finally, every once in a while, you may automatically be put into some professional learning. And so that's because there's an ability to upload a spreadsheet whenever you are working, whenever you have someone creating courses for professional learning. So let's talk about what that look like, what looking for those courses looks like. Um, So we've got our whenever you're in your professional learning within Strive, you can go in and like we said earlier, you can see that you can filter by t-test dimension, even down to the dimension and domain. You can also look for certain categories, and these categories are set forth by your professional learning Eduphoria administrator. And so you can also sort by date. And really just like dig in for certain topics. Nobody likes to scroll through not finding what they can see. And so this is a great way to really target what you need. You can also look by date. So on the right-hand side of your Strive Professional Learning, you'll see a calendar. So the ones that are highlighted in that gray shade, those are the dates that have offerings. And so you can navigate to future months. You can peruse the catalog early. And I know some people are like super ahead of on schedule on looking for great courses to take. So just know that you also have that date feature. Just a little bit more lanyard for y'all when it comes to registering for professional learning. So if you maybe have heard of a professional learning course that's coming up, but you don't see it in the catalog, just know that catalog is there are parameters set by your district that say, okay, you can only publish courses 2 to 3 months in advance. And so if you don't see something, maybe reach out to the person that you think would be instructing it and say, like, when is that going to be published? And then obviously, you can also, as a course creator, because sometimes we as teachers find ourselves actually creating and teaching courses as well for professional learning. So you can also set those parameters for enrollment when you're creating the course. Whenever you are taking professional learning, you may see a QR code with our good friend Eddie in the middle. That is your digital sign-in for your courses. So whenever you're at a conference or you're taking a course and you see this logo, you see this QR code with our little sweet Eddie logo in the middle of it, that's going to be your digital sign-in for courses. And when you scan that, it automatically enrolls you in the course and you're able to check in for attendance. If you are one of those great folks that also teaches and delivers professional learning for your district, you can also enable this feature within the setup as a course contributor. So just know that that's also an option. Nobody likes to deal with sign-in sheets these days. So this is a great way to really eliminate that paper usage and the possibility for things to get a little unorganized by just having a digital sign-in where they scan and roll. Can we all agree that the QR code made the greatest comeback during the pandemic? We thought the QR code was going away. It was really hot a long time ago, went away, and here we are, pandemic happens, QR code's hot again. Second, I want to talk to y'all about is our submit a course idea. This is one of my favorite features of Strive, and where we are happy to crowdsource and give agency over what we've learned. As teachers, we go in and find all kinds of tips and tricks all over the place. We're always scanning for great ideas and ways to share them. I would encourage you to submit a course idea in your district so that you can say, hey, this is something I learned, and here is a day that I could teach it. Especially if you are looking for more experience in delivering professional learning. This is a great way to say, hey, I have this great concept I'd like to share out, and here's a really great course that I've created and designed. And then that was turned into your professional learning administrators, and they can either convert it into a course or make it into a conference. Either way, it's a great way to get your idea out there that could really benefit others. We also have e-courses, and these are amazing asynchronous formats for delivering content. As a teacher, you may want to be designing an e-course, especially if you have a student population that you've really found like some really great engagement methods to utilize. Maybe you make an e-course about it to help share it out with your fellow teachers. So just know that that's an option within Eduphoria, within Strive for Professional Learning. Okay, I do see we have one question before I pivot. Um, nope, that's a chat. Just kidding. Okay, so next up, I am excited to share with y'all Beacon and Aware's connection. So I'm going to be showing y'all a video, but I'm going to be talking over it. But I just want to show y'all the connection between Beacon and Aware. So, oh, let me turn off the volume because I'm going to talk over it. So, okay. Here you can see that you access the assessments within the Curriculum Explorer. So you would go in and you would locate your sections that you see. You would go have your preps, you go into your prep, and then once you've made your prep and connected it to a course being offered by your district, you can go into Curriculum Explorer, click on the assessments, and then locate a prep that you know has assessments rostered to it in Aware. Looking here at this, at the video, you can see that we have located the course we're going to teach, and we've also said that these are the rostered sections we're utilizing. Now let's talk about the authoring elements that need to be in place within Aware in order for you to be able to utilize an assessment within Beacon. So as you can see here, we are in the authoring settings and we're checking to see, number one, that these assessments that we're utilizing have a few elements. Number one, they're active. Number two, they have questions with standards attached. And number three, the assessment has accurate available dates. And so if you have those three elements ready on your assessment, as well as you have rostered sections that you've linked to your prep, and those match the rostered sections that the test is being administered to and Aware, once you have those pieces correlated together, that's when you're able to utilize this element where you can add your assessments into Beacon and launch them from Beacon, essentially utilizing your assessment, your planner, if you will, as your scope of the day. So you can see here that we're going over the dates, making sure that our date window is, this one seems like it's out of the window, so we need to correct that window so that it's given in the right set of available dates in order for the test to be valid and be able to be proctored from Beacon. So again, once you have those pieces in motion for Aware, you're able to make sure that the test is on, and then you're able to then go back into Beacon, and we will show that element here. We're turning the test on, we're double checking that now we can, these are all the sections that that assessment is available for, and now we can go into Beacon and build our plan for the day, which will add that assessment chip to the planner. And you'll be able to see that it can be proctored here from the Beacon planner. So you see that they are grabbing the section that they would like to provide the assessment to. And then here we're going to go create a plan for the day. We've got, we've located the assessment we want to utilize. We're making our plan. We're going to drag and drop the assessment over into our plan for the day. And you can see that they're pointing out that these have standards. And then from there, once you're ready to go, you click on the assessment and you can proctor it from Aware. And so you're able to start the test from Beacon without extra clicking or logging in or any of those elements. And that is our Better Together piece with Beacon and Aware. Very exciting stuff. So if you want to have additional questions about how Beacon and Aware are better together, please reach out to us. We put the email address in the chat, training@eduphoria.net. Or if you have any questions about Beacon or Strive Professional Learning, please reach out to us, y'all. We're so happy to talk to you guys and troubleshoot or help meet the needs that you're addressing on your campus.